All right. No, share tab. All right. Hopefully, Lord have mercy. Let me zoom in some more. Okay. Can everyone see my screen and also hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Now I'm curious. Because I don't. Oh my gosh, do not. Hopefully the YouTube is still live as well. All right. So we are going to start from the beginning. I am using my spreadsheet that sort of helped me keep everything in one place. I wouldn't say that it's for everyone just because not everyone is good at using spreadsheets. But for me, like, I like it because I can just go to different tabs and find definitions. I can see like progress of how I'm doing when I check off like what chapters that I've done and what I feel good about, what I don't feel good about. So I can kind of get an idea of where I'm at in terms of like competency with this sheet. So this is one of the tabs that I actually made. This is not included in the study guide that I sell, but this is the basic study guide that I sell, but it has an extra tab, which is the one that I'm on right now. It says terms and definitions, ABC order. I put this in there because I wanted to be able to find terms really quickly. But on the other tabs, you can fill in the definitions and sort of learn as you go. But I do have like a quick reference sheet for myself when I'm doing meetings and stuff. So this is what I'm going to be using today for a couple of the task items. So yeah, we'll start with philosophical underpinnings, which is part of foundations. A1, identify the goals of behavior analysis as a science. We know that that means description, prediction, and control. So hopefully that rung a bell to you before you even really read the whole thing. Description is the systematic observation of a given phenomena leading to prediction after repeated observations of events that co-vary or seem correlated. And lastly, with a certain degree of confidence, a functional relationship is established with ability to exercise control. So you sort of start at description and work your way to control. Control is what we typically would want to get. Like anytime that we're trying to fix the behavior or change the behavior, we want to figure out the functional relations of that behavior. And so we want to be able to describe it, and we want to be able to make a prediction based on the past and the pattern of the person behaving or the behavior itself. And then we want to be able to control it with the interventions that we put into place. So that's A1. Does anyone have questions about A1 or want to add anything? Welcome, everyone that's just getting here. We just did A1. Let me go to my tab. Where is it at? Here it is. All right. A2. Explain the philosophical assumptions underlying the science of behavior analysis. All right. So when you think of philosophical assumptions, go ahead and think of the acronym that's going to help you. I made an acronym, READ-PP. So, well, I didn't really make it because others have used it too, but this is the one that I like to use. The first one I'll say is replication, which means repeating experiments. We want to do this for believability. We want to see it over and over so that we know that it's reliable, and we want to know that it's believable. Experimentation, which is the basic strategy for measurement of the phenomenon of interest with carefully controlled comparison. We're basing this all around a dependent variable, and we're using the independent variable to change the dependent variable or alter or get them to do what we want them to do. The client is the dependent variable, and then what we put into place is the independent variable. So if you're having trouble remembering client as dependent variable and then independent variable as what we're doing, think of it as like independent I change, right? And the dependent variable, the client is how the client acts depends on what we change or what we do. So
the client's always the dependent variable?
always.
Okay.
Because
Always.
that's what we're manipulating, right? We're manipulating that to get a change, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And so if you're having trouble still with like the independent variable, if you look at any graph and you see the client and then you see the intervention on the graph, the intervention is always going to be on the bottom line or also the x-axis. The x-axis is the line going across, right? So the intervention is going to be on the bottom always. The dependent variable or the client is going to be on the y-axis, which is going up. So y to the sky, client, dependent variable, that's always going to be on the y-axis. So if a question asks you, which I have been asked this before, not on the exam, but I'm a first-time test taker, but I've seen mock exams where it said, identify the dependent variable, and it had all these different things labeled, and the dependent variable is always going to be on the y-axis. That's just like an automatic giveaway question for me, because I know for a fact that's where I'm going to find it at. So that's a little bit, I know I kind of went on a tangent for that, but some people have trouble remembering it. And I think it's like one of those questions that like could be an easy point for you. So just try to remember those things.
Yeah, that was huge helpful because I always have problems with the graphs. That was like so helpful.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, and I mean, another way to remember the x-axis, x across. So like how you draw an x is across, like it's going to go across the bottom. So you know for a fact it's an x if it's going across, right? And then you know for a fact that y to the sky is going to go up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always going to be going up on the side, and that's going to be your client or your dependent variable on that. You'll also notice the x-axis is typically in time. Not always, but a lot of the time, the x-axis is going to be in time. And then the y-axis is going to be whatever the level or rate of the behavior or the whatever the person is doing is going to be on the y, and then the time is going to be on the bottom. Or whenever the intervention was, like on a multiple baseline design, you're going to see the intervention on the bottom, and you're going to see the different times that the intervention was implemented based on the client or the setting or the behavior. So that's a good example of a graph that would show like the differences in time and implementation. So moving on to, let's see, we did R, we did E, which is replication and experimentation. Now the other E, which is empiricism, which is the practice of objective observation. You know, looking at whatever you're looking at, but you're looking at it within a very objective lens. You're not just putting random stuff. Like, what do you see? Are you being objective? Like, are you accurately documenting what you see and what you're experiencing? It's very evidence-based and scientific. So think about that. Like, empiricism is very evidence-based, and it's going to be very like as a matter of fact. Determinism, which is nothing is an accident. The universe is a lawful and orderly place. So nothing is just going to like come out of the blue or just be random. Like it's for a reason.
Can we say that's almost like you're provoking something to happen? Or
what do you mean?
Like your actions is going to cause something to happen. Like if you make the wrong choice, you're causing it to happen. Can we put it that way?
You know, if that's how you're going to remember it, that's fine. I think it's good to sort of make your own like sort of takeaway from it, but as long as you remember that like nothing is accident.
Yeah, that's because I was having a hard time remembering this. So I was like, okay, it's like me provoking my own incident to happen. You know, my own actions causes it to fail or causes it to break or whatever it's supposed to be. That's how I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, like my desk didn't just break out of nowhere. I was pushing on it.
Yeah, like that. That's what I mean. Like our actions will cause something to happen.
Exactly. Yes. Very
Okay.
good. Does anyone else need any help with that? Determinism? All right. Parsimony. Ruling out simple and logical explanations first. So start simple. It's easy to remember this one. Start simple and then work your way to complex. You don't have to go the full 9 yards when you're trying to figure out something. Just start simple, start small. And then whatever you have to do, if you can't figure it out at the simple state, then go, think about the other explanations that could be. Parsimony. Let's see. Parsimony. I don't know actually what the origin of this word is. I know that money means money, like in Old English, but I don't know like how the parsimony actually like means simple. Does anyone know that? I'm just curious.
I think you're right. I think it means simple. Like I take it as like you're taking baby steps before you get to the grand finale, and then from there you see if that's the way you want to go. That's how I've been taking it because it's easier for me to remember.
Yeah, or if you're having trouble remembering like parsimony, like parts, like small, like small parts. So simple. Or you know what? Parsim, you could take the SIM. Take the SIM and just put simple in there.
True. That could work. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like one way. And now for philosophic doubt, which is pretty simple too. It's just a healthy level of skepticism. It's the idea that scientific knowledge should always be viewed as tentative. Like there's not always going to be like that certain thing. Like you can still question it. You can still wonder about it. You could still be curious and see like, maybe this isn't true. Like maybe this needs more refinement. Whatever that is, you're continuously questioning what's regarded as a fact. That's called philosophic doubt. A3, describe and explain behavior from the perspective of radical behaviorism. All right, so most of us probably recognize radical behaviorism as a theory or phenomenon by B.F. Skinner. The word radical means fundamental, root, or origin. I just put that in there just because like it just helps me remember that it's like all encompassing. And this can be compared to methodological behaviorism because radical behaviorism considers both private and public events. So both overt and covert events for radical behaviorism, whereas methodological, you're only going to really be worrying about public events, things that you can see. So methodological is more strict, and radical behaviorism is just more it's just more open. Like it's going to be considering both the inner dimensions of the person and then also the environment and what someone could see and document. So B.F. Skinner didn't think that everything is just about what you can see and that's all to it. Like there's no other variables that are impacting the person rather than what we can see. It's actually something else that could be happening that we can't see, which are covert. Someone in this group gave me a really clever way of remembering covert and overt. When they said covert, like covered, like you can't see it. So covert means like we can't observe it. And then overt is like you can observe. A4, distinguish among behaviorism, the experimental analysis of behavior, applied behavior analysis, and professional practice guided by the science of behavior analysis.
Lucia, can I ask a question?
So, yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so when it comes to those two philosophies, which one are we supposed to focus on? Do we need to worry about which one do we apply? The methodological versus the radical behaviorism?
Well, I guess it depends on what you're wanting to study. Like if you're going to work in the field, then I would suspect it's smart to apply the radical behaviorism like perspective, just because you really do want to consider everything, like not just what you can see.
Okay.
Even though it's like outside of, the realm of behavioral science, if we can't really, see it and measure it, it's still probably a part of the client and what the client's doing.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. But typically, though, for the dimensions of ABA, we want to be able to measure it and be able to observe it. That is ideal, yes. But you do still consider other interdimensions too. You just can't really, put your finger on it and say, oh, I'm going to do this because I think he's feeling sad. Like, we don't really know that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Also, wait, is this Pam?
This is Pam.
Okay, good. Did you send, sorry, I thought that you had sent the message to the group saying you need the link. And I was like, wait, I just forgot. And then I was like, wait, that sounds like Pam.
Yeah, you sent it to me already. And I didn't check my email, but I tried to get on it. I could not get on it. So I just do my phone. I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to do, I got on it around 11, about 10:45. I said, let me just wait. And for some reason, I just could not get in. I was like, you know what? Let me just click. I use my phone.
Okay. Well, do you need the link sent to your email again so you can use the computer, or are you good?
Yes, if you can do that, but I don't want to disturb the group. I'm fine like this. I don't want to,
Okay.
I know it's a lot for you to go back and forth and back and forth.
Okay. Or does anyone else mind just putting it in the group chat? Because I don't mind this time if someone sends it out, but yeah, that'd be nice. If no one does it in the next couple minutes, I'll do it.
I'll try and do it for you.
Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. Okay.
All right. So yes, the group chat on Facebook, the Google Meet link to the Facebook group chat. Sorry, I should have been more specific. Thank you, Alyssa. All right. A4. So I already read the task list item. I like to use BEEP because it's just an acronym for all four. So BEEP, B-E-A-P, BEEP. Those are the four categories, pretty much, of behavior analysis, stemming from behaviorism all the way to professional practice, which is like the implementation and everything. So behaviorism, we'll start at the theory and the philosophy. The theoretical account of all behavior consistent with existing data. So the idea of behaviorism is that what people do can be observed and studied. That is a very, very basic idea of behaviorism. It's like the building block of EAB, ABA, and professional practice. It's like where it starts at. The theory and philosophy, okay? Then we work our way up to experimental analysis of behavior, which was largely focused on by B.F. Skinner. Also, we have to remember Watson and Pavlov. That's like earlier research, but Skinner was one of the major players in EAB, and he focused on designing, testing, and reporting findings of lab research, such as rate of response as the basic dependent variable. Again, rate of response as a basic dependent variable. He was trying to see, hold on. He was trying to test the rate of response in the rats or the cats or whatever he was doing. The dependent variable was, in this case, the rats or whatever he was doing. So remember, when you're working with a client, they're the dependent variable. Just like Skinner was working in the labs and he was testing rate of response and, just anything. He was testing based on what he did. How did it impact the dependent variable, which was his lab subjects? So with EAB, Skinner focused on designing, testing, and reporting findings of lab research, such as rate of response as the basic dependent variable, repeated or continuous measurement of clearly defined response classes, within subject experimental comparisons instead of group designs, visual analysis of graph data instead of statistical inference, and an emphasis on describing functional relations between behavior and controlling variables in the environment over formal theory testing. So he was very hands-on, very hands-on, very interested in using graphs and, like, you know, how we do visual analyses. He did that too. He wanted to show the different rates of responding and the different ways that he could impact the behaviors of his subjects. He wanted to really try to show functional relations between the behavior and then what he was doing, which was the controlling variables. Now we move on to the A and the BEEP. We did the B and E. Now for the A. The A is called the ABA, which is what we're doing. And it is the technology, development, and application of behaviorism and EAB principles towards socially significant behaviors to improve an individual's quality of life. So we've taken the first two and we've tied it all into what we're doing, which is the technology development, the application, based on those principles, based on all the things that we've read about in research. We're taking those and we're using them for clients to help them. So we're going to always try to pick, and I'm going to get to the dimensions next, but it emphasizes socially significant, right? That's the applied in ABA. So pretty much we move from like the lab and the scientific sort of like lab coat. What was I going to say? We move from like the scientific way of doing things to more like we're in the field, we're working with clients, we're writing the plans, we're teaching the plans, we're doing all those things based on the scientific evidence that have been published and taught to us. I think we kind of know about ABA, so I'm going to go ahead and move on. All right, so now the last letter in BEEP is professional practice guided by the science of behavior analysis. I did use an acronym for that because I didn't want to retype it out, but hopefully you know what it is. This is the direct implementation and application. So sometimes as the ABA therapist, as the BCBA, we're going to be doing the professional practice and the implementation. Some people do, some people don't. So don't think just because, you know, you have a BCBA, you won't be doing direct implementation, because a lot of people do. Some people choose not to, but still, whenever you're directly implementing, you're doing professional practice. For the ABA domain, it's more so focused around the technology development, given we're using the application of behaviors in the EAB. Whereas professional practice is when you're actually doing it, like you're delivering the service. And a lot of times it's going to be the RBT, but sometimes it's going to be us. So next is A5. This is all about the dimensions. Describe and define the dimensions of applied behavior analysis. Heavily influenced by the Bear, Wolf, and Risley. If I don't, you know what? Is that even right? Risley, Riley, Bear, Wolf, Risley, 1968. Some current dimensions. That is a really, really big staple in our field. So if you haven't read it, probably go read it just to have. Get a cab is an acronym you can use for all the dimensions. There are 7. The first one is generality. This means it lasts over time. Not only lasts over time, but it also appears in other environments that you did not initially implement the intervention at. So not just at home where you taught your kid to push his chair in, but you can also see your kid behave at a restaurant, push their chair in, and, you know, be polite and everything. So they're generalizing those things they learned at home in other environments. That's generality. Effective. It produces actual behavior change. Some people confuse effective, and I want to say conceptually systematic. No, I think people confuse effective and applied. Yeah, those two are confused because effective means we really want to see that the behavior change was like, it worked. What we did worked. It's not necessarily about being, making sure it's socially significant, because that's the applied, but like, you want to be able to see that what you did caused a change in the other person. So that's effective. Did it work? That's a question you need to ask yourself. Did what I did work? Technological, the procedure can be replicated and followed by other people. It's teachable. So if I write a plan and I give it to a teacher, but they can't do it, it's not technological because I didn't write it so that someone else could go behind me and do it again. We just wasted time. So whenever you're trying to make something technological and you're trying to base it on that, make sure that it can easily be followed, even if it's just like you teach it one time and you just see like, oh, were they able to do it? Were they able to understand what I was saying? So making it easy to understand, making it easily understood, like in terms of, can you watch that person do what you just said to do, and did they do it correctly? Applied, socially significant, we know that, and it improves their quality of life. Ranking target behaviors. I've seen so many times that people choose these behavior plans and these target behaviors that don't really even matter that much, or therapists that choose skills that the client already has. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Why choose target behaviors that the person already has? You're not really improving their quality of life because that they already knew how to do that thing. So why choose that? Not to go off on a tangent, but just like sort of how, I mean, I guess use common sense too. Like, should you really be programming someone to set the table when they have trouble even like sitting down and like, being at the table calmly and not hitting? Like, is it really more important for them to know how to set a table and do all that before they can actually like sit down at a table and eat normally? I've seen and heard stories about that. So hopefully someone is giving me a me too. Yes, Faye.
No, I'm just going to piggyback on what you were saying, and it's so crazy. There's mostly the insurance companies that think that we're doing it back. The insurance company think that we're doing it backwards when they're not recognizing what we need to do first.
Exactly.
Just like you said, the insurance company say, oh, they need to learn how to set a table. And then we're thinking, no, they need to learn how to sit at a table before they can learn how to set a table.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm going through that right now with the insurance companies. Like, they don't want me to teach my client how to, say words, different words. But it's like, if he's out in the community, he's going to need to know how to respond to different scenarios and stuff like that. But they don't think that that's important.
That's crazy.
It is.
Well, so I mean, I'm sure all of us will see that and be like frustrated because we're trying to go based on the dimensions. We're trying to go based on our roots. And then they come along and they're just like, no, like, you're going to do what I say because we're paying. So no, like, there's always going to be that, hard situation where we're just got to like figure out what to do. What's the best choice to make in a situation like that?
But I do know, I'd like to add that I inquired on who is the insurance. Are they BCBAs? Do they actually know the role of the ones writing the interventions? And they are BCBAs. They have doctorates. That is who approves the intervention.
So it's kind of like, wow, if someone that's sitting there that has a PhD and has the BCBA and they want to see, you know, improvement, it's kind of hard to argue that.
Yeah, it's tough. All right. So where was I? Okay, so that concludes section 1, which is a 1 through 5. Not section 1, excuse me. Task list item 1, which is A.
Can you go back over conceptual, systematic?
Did I skip that? Oh, you know what?
Yeah,
I did. You know what? That's right. Because we started talking about it and I totally forgot. Yes.
Yeah.
So apply, socially significant, conceptually systematic. The interventions used must improve the behavior, and they need to be based on relevant principles of behavior analysis. If what you're doing is not evidence-based, if what you're doing is not based on behaviorism or relevant principles, it is not conceptually systematic. Concept. Think about the concepts that we learn. If you're having trouble with that term, just think about the word concept. What concepts did you learn in your program based in ABA can you use for this client? Are they known to work? Are they known to have certain drawbacks? Are there pros? Are there cons? Think about all of that. That is evidence-based interventions that you need to use. If you learn them in your ABA program, most likely they're conceptually systematic and you need to go ahead and use the ones that are known to work. And that's why you should be good with looking up literature, because you need to be able to find interventions that maybe you didn't learn about. Maybe you're trying to figure out something else. You can't figure out why the client is not responding to you when you're doing all these different things. Like, there might be times where you do need to look up other interventions that you might not know about. And that's where literature comes into place for that. JABA is great. Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis. They have a lot of good articles. All right. Analytic. The experimenter demonstrated a functional relationship between manipulated events and a reliable change in the target behavior. So, analytic, functional relationship. You want to see that there was a change. There was a manipulation in the environment from either the therapist, either the whatever was changed. You want to be able to see the relationship between what was changed in the environment and what changed in the client of the dependent variable. Is it reliable? Is it just a confound? Or was what you did, in fact, if what you did, in fact, impacted the client? We want to be able to see that. Put it in a graph. Be able to look at it and see. So that's that. Let's see. Behavioral. Last one in the Get a Cab acronym. Behavioral. The behavior must be observable, measurable, and the behavior studied must be the behavior we want to change. When the behavior changes, we must check who changed their behavior, the subject, the observer, or another participant's behavior. So that is actually a really good point, because I was wondering one time, like, I wonder, why did this kid's behavior change? Was it me who changed? Was it them who changed? Who really caused a change in this child? And so sometimes it's really not about changing the kid necessarily, but sometimes it's as simple as changing ourselves and the way that we do things. Like, I know, for an example, and I'm not going to go off on a tangent, but like, I realized that I was the problem in a classroom when I was dealing with a really challenging kid. And I realized that I wasn't talking with a nice tone. And then I realized when I changed my tone, he did everything. And I was just like, wow, okay. So it was me. It was the way I was delivering my message. He didn't like it. And so he was fighting back because he wanted like a softer, slower, calmer, approach. And I didn't. And that's not how I wanted to communicate, because I was already a little bit frustrated. But really, sometimes you have to take a step back and say, like, is it me who needs to change my behavior? Or like, whose problem is it? Like, who needs to do what? It's not always about the client. He's doing this, he's doing that. Like, what are the people around him doing? What are they How are they impacting him? So, him or her. All right, we're taking a break at 3 o'clock. So we're going to go for about 15 more minutes, and then we'll take a break. On to B. All right, B1, define and provide examples of behavior, response, and response class. Behavior is defined as that portion of an organism's interaction with its environment that involves movement of some part of the organism. Or behavior is the activity or movement of an organism. Behavior is anything that we do, including thoughts, feelings, all that. Example, typing on a keyboard. That's a behavior. I'm sure you can think of many other behavior examples. So think of one now and just have it in your head. All right, response. Actually, can someone give me a non-example of behavior? I'm curious.
Happy?
Happy?
Yeah. You
Yeah.
said give a non-behavior.
Yeah, you know what? Sometimes I get thrown off because it keeps saying that like behaviors are thoughts and feelings too.
What about sitting quietly?
Sitting is not a behavior.
Like sitting, yeah, just sitting quietly.
Is not a behavior.
Exactly.
No, they
It's
say,
not
but
a
then
behavior.
if a demon can't, I always go, you always got to think it's something that you could see happen, because it's like acting out basically. So
It's
if
like
you
any
could act it
movement.
out, that's a behavior. That's what you have to look for.
Yeah, it's the movement. In the dead man's
Yeah,
test.
that's- yeah.
Exactly.
Yes,
You were
yes,
reading my
that's
mind.
why I
That's what I
kept
want to
it
say.
dead
Dead
man.
man test, but I wasn't
Yeah.
sure if that was correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah,
The dead
a dead
man's
Yeah,
man
see,
test.
it is not a functional goal, so it's not functional at all. So you can't use that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When
the
you
dead
think
man's
of
test.
behavior,
Mhm.
I always think of what type of measurement I'm going to use to actually figure out this behavior. So am I going to use frequency? And if I can't do that, then I always think that it's not a behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right.
Good. Is everyone able to take notes while I'm talking? I don't think I'm going too fast, but let me know if I need to slow down at all. I'm just trying to keep good time.
You're good.
Okay.
I'm changing computers, so I'm gonna pop off and pop back on again. I'm changing computers. My
Okay.
phone to my computer.
Okay. All right. So we talked a little bit about behavior. Now we're going to go ahead and go to response. Response is a specific instance of behavior or an occurrence. Response is a specific instance of behavior or an occurrence. Okay. There is a technical definition. I did include it because you might as well know it, or at least see it once or twice. The technical definition is an action of an organism's effector. An effector is an organ at the end of an efferent nerve fiber that is specialized for altering its environment mechanically, chemically, or in terms, oh my gosh, that's a typo, or in terms of other energy changes. So yeah, that definition sucks pretty bad, but it is the technical definition of response. Let me edit that real quick. There's no way I'd ever be able to memorize that in my entire life. Not happening.
It's also a single. I think it's crucial that you say single, right? Single instance of behavior.
I can add that in. Definitely.
Yeah, it has to be singular.
Yeah. Is a
Because
singular.
you're only responding to one action at a time or whatever the behavior is versus multiples, right?
Right. It's a single instance of
Mhm.
behavior.
Yeah.
All right, where was this at? I forgot where I was at. Oh, here it is. Example, pressing a lever. That's a response. Very simple example, but hopefully That makes sense to y'all? Now, response class. You know what? I'm going to scroll up. Does someone know what a response class is before I like talk about it?
Wouldn't that be something that's in similar in form? Like it has to be corresponding to something that's happening already or not? I always get that mixed up with topography. Like, you know how you have the topography of response class, so everything's similar and familiar or something like that.
They serve, it serves the same function.
The
That's
same
how-
functions,
Right.
like so many
Serve-
behaviors with the same function.
Right. Does
Mhm.
anyone else want to add anything?
The topographies can be different as long as the response is the same.
Which is topography of response class, right?
Yeah, they can look different, but they have to serve the same function.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
So like pressing the lever, you can press the lever, I guess, if the lever's in the bedroom or the lever is green, you're still pressing it. I'm thinking things are different, but you're still pressing the lever.
Okay.
Right.
Nancy, I know you were going to say something, but you were cut off. What were you were going to explain?
I was just gonna say, like, the best one I think of for that is
Uh-huh.
saying hi, hello. Like, there's so many, you can wave, you can say hi, you can do.
Exactly.
That's
Yes.
the way I think of it the best, because there's so
Yes.
many,
So
but
many
you're
different
still
ways.
saying hi.
Okay. So
Wonderful.
basically a
Yeah,
simple
it's a different way to have a greeting.
action,
say hi.
basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So
Okay.
response class is a group of responses sharing the same function,
Function.
but have different topographies,
Topography.
or AKA
Yep.
how it looks,
How it looks.
but the same function, which means it generates the same consequence. So when I say a group of responses sharing the same function, they generate the same consequence, but they look different.
Okay, so it's the same action, but different, I guess a different way of seeing things, right? Like someone waves hi
Different
with
ways of
a
doing
hand up,
things.
but someone say hi just by nodding or something like that, right?
Right.
Right. Different
Mhm.
ways of doing
Yeah.
the same
Same
thing.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So it's simplify it in your head like this. So I'm doing a lot of different things, but I want to accomplish the same thing.
Okay.
So I can fold the laundry different ways, but I'm still folding the laundry, right?
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
that makes sense. All right. Thanks.
Yeah. Example, tapping teacher's shoulder for attention, calling out her name, raising her hand so she'll walk over to you. They all look different, but I also just want her attention. I'm just doing it different ways. Okay.
Okay. That
So
makes sense.
B2. Does anyone still need help with response and response class before I move on to B2? Or if you're taking notes, I can keep it up. I don't know who's doing what, but I could just
I'm
leave it
taking
up.
notes.
Okay, I'll leave it up while I read the next one.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yep. All right, B2, define and provide examples of stimulus and stimulus class. So we just did response and response class. Now we're doing stimulus and stimulus class. Okay, so take a pause for a second. Separate them. And think about what they mean before we go over it. So a stimulus is an energy change, or either a change in the environment that affects an organism through its receptor cells. A stimulus is anything a person can experience through their senses, such as being heard, smelled, seen, felt, tasted, etc. So a stimulus example, hearing a knock at the door, smelling freshly cut grass. That's a stimulus. All right. So is everyone good so far with that?
Yep.
What is stimulus?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Stimulus class is defined as a set or group of antecedent stimuli that have a common effect on operant class. Okay, so they have a common effect on how we receive them or what we do with it. So let's just move into the types of stimulus classes, because I think this is going to be a little easier to understand. So there's 3 types of stimulus classes: formal, temporal, and functional. Formal, temporal, and functional. FTF. Formal, think about what formal means. It's very similar to the word topography. Someone is trying to get in. Hold on. Violetta. I don't even think that she signed up. Hello. Let's see. Oh, my dog just barked. No. Let me see. Where was I at? She distracted me. Now I don't know where I was at. Oh yeah, formal. Yeah, FTF. That's right. Thank you, Laura. FTF. Those are the 3 stimulus classes, right?
What about
formal?
what about arbitrary?
Yes, I'm going to get to it.
Okay, I thought you were saying there was only 3.
Well, there's 3 right now that I want to focus on, but there's how can I say this? There's like extensions of it. So arbitrary and what's the other one? I forgot. Anyways, I'm going to get to those, but I wanted to start simple. Arbitrary and feature, that's right. All right, so formal, temporal, and functional. Let's just start right there, because I just want to swallow this first. So formal means physical or topographically. No. God, I'm about to lose my mind in here. Go lay down. I keep losing my train of thought. My dog. Stop. Formal means physically or topographically similar, such as color, stop, magnitude, shape, weight, etc. Different ways that it looks, different ways that it sounds. Okay, that's formal similarities. Temporal means time. Temporal time. I am gonna put you somewhere else if you do not be quiet, Missy. Temporal means time in relation to the behavior of interest. So we're gonna look at a scatter plot. This might help us determine at certain times when is this behavior likely to occur. So I say, what does the behavior look like temporally right now? You might want to look at that chart and say, okay, it normally happens around 8 o'clock. Okay, that means temporal. Functional means similar effect on behavior, which is the same thing happening. So like, no matter if it's a bright light shining in my eyes, if it's grass from a mower. Oh my God, hold on. Sorry guys, just 1 second. She's about to make me mad. All right, formal. No, not formal. Where was I at? Functional, yes.
So bright light going into your eyes.
Yes. I'm all out of whack now because that dog. So no matter if it's a bright light shining in my eyes, if it's grass from a mower about to blow in my face, if it's strong wind, I'm still going to squint my eyes. So that's what I mean when I say functionally similar. The stimulus is functionally similar because I'm still squinting my eyes regardless, even though it's different ways that my eyes could be affected. All right, so another example of functional similarity, dancing to music, no matter what kind of music comes on. No matter if it's country music, is it hip hop, is it jazz, is it bossa nova, whatever it is, I'm going to dance because it's music and I like music. Other ways to identify stimulus class, arbitrary, and feature. So don't get too confused. We just try to stay with me here. I try to give plenty of examples because this is one of the harder things to sort of learn. Now my dog is asking to come back in here after she made me mad. Where was I at? Here. Arbitrary. A group of stimuli that belong to the same category but do not share common physical features. So, example 1, sources of protein. Chicken breast, chia seeds, eggs. I'm still getting protein, right? But I'm getting it in different ways. Oh, that's our break time. Why don't we pause right here and we'll come back in 10 minutes and we will finish up. Hopefully we'll finish up B in the next hour. Does that sound good to everyone else?
Yeah.
Yes.
10 minutes?
10 minutes. So it's like 3:10 or 3:11-ish. Come back and then
Okay.
we'll resume. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Let's see. Let me do it. Let me do this one.
All right, we are back. Hopefully everyone got a chance to take a little break. Where is my tab at? All right. Is everyone ready? I'm pretty sure the answer is going to be yes to that. I'm going to go ahead and start. We left off at B2, define and provide examples of stimulus and stimulus class. We stopped at arbitrary stimulus class and feature stimulus class. So arbitrary, again, is a group of stimuli that belong to the same category, but do not share common physical features, AKA do not have the same topography, right? They don't look the same. So with that in mind, the first example that I started to talk about was sources of protein. Chicken breast, chia seeds, eggs. All sources of protein, but look differently. Types of vegetables, peas or corn. Things that reduce pain, ibuprofen, a menthol rub, or a heating pad. So these are all similar things. They have similar benefits, right? But they look differently. If something is in the same, if something is similarly in feature, it's a group of stimuli that belong to the same category and have similar physical features. So if you think about arbitrary, they're in the same category, but did not have physical features that were common. But when you look at the feature category, they have both the same type, same category, and they have the same physical features. So, example, things with tails, cats, dogs, monkeys. They're all animals, and they all have tails, right? Things with branches, hedges and trees. They're both plants, and they both have branches on them. Things that are the color green, kale, kiwi, and celery. They're all healthy food, and they're all green, right? Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Hopefully those were okay
Yes.
examples. I tried to give
Yeah.
like because those are like more complicated. So is everyone clear though, besides the arbitrary and the features?
So, question. So,
Yeah.
what is the one thing that you can differentiate features and arbitrary? Just that one thing that you can say, okay, this is feature, this is arbitrary.
Well, feature, it's gonna be in the same category and like look similar.
Look similar.
Like,
okay.
so feature is like more than arbitrary. Arbitrary is like it's in the same category, but they don't really look alike.
Okay. Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Arbitrary is like a lesser version of feature.
Okay.
So A becomes before F.
Okay.
Like
What-
A, yeah.
One of the examples. Go ahead.
For formal,
For formal.
yes, formal and feature.
Sorry, I didn't hear your question.
The difference between formal and feature.
Formal and feature. Well, formal is just pretty much how it looks or how like is it, what color is it? How loud was it? What shape is it? What weight is it? That's like
Yeah.
like the
Size.
physical property.
Size. Yeah.
The physical property.
And feature is physical and functional?
Feature is physical and in the same category. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So maybe I should and I didn't really bold the terms because I was just, these are like how I type my notes out sometimes. Like I just type it all in one paragraph. I didn't do this for all the ones because like the schedules of reinforcement, oh my God, I had to bold those terms because that was too much. But like for this, mainly remember FTF for the 3 types of stimulus classes, and then remember the other 2 types, like other variations of a stimulus class, which is like arbitrary and feature. So if I say, okay, what are the feature similarities in in things with tails? You would say, all right, well, if I was looking for similar features, I would be looking for things that are very similar to each other, literally like an animal with a tail, or an animal with ears, or an animal with 3 eyes. I don't know. Like it's going to have the same, it's going to be very similar, but it's not going to look the exact same, but it's going to have similar things in common.
How about like a tuxedo? Some tuxedos have tails, some tuxedos have a short jacket.
Right. Exactly.
Because I think of formal and I think of tuxedo, so I connect the tuxedo to the different ways it can look.
Right. And then with formal, you're going to just look at something that's topographically similar. Like, is it a similar color? Is it a similar magnitude? Like, how loud? Like, is it similarly, like, you know, in volume? Like, they're both loud, so they have formal similarities. Or they're functionally similar because I still squint in my eyes, even though it was a bright light, and then I squint in my eyes when I went outside because the mower was blowing grass near me. So that's a functionally similar stimulus that happened, but 2 different things happened to me. But I had the same response to that stimulus. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Or if I hear music, the music is functionally similar because I dance no matter what. It doesn't matter what kind of music it was still music. Right? So if I say, so someone can answer this. If I say, give me an example of a stimulus class that has formal similarity, what would you say?
Will we use bikes?
You said what'd you say?
Bikes, like bicycle. Wouldn't that be similar? Buying a bike, so you compare all the different bikes that you have. It looks the same, but you're comparing the difference in function. One is faster, one is higher, or one is just for cruising, or whatever.
Let's see.
What
Would
if you
that
say
be formal or functional? Let's see.
That would be I would assume formal.
Formal.
Yeah, the different types of bikes. Yeah. So whether it's a cruiser, whether it's a mountain bike, whether it's a that's formal similarity.
Yeah.
Can we say fruits that are round?
What'd you say?
Fruits that are round.
Round
that have
fruits.
round fruits like oranges and any fruit that has a round circle.
Right. So that's formal similarity. That's perfect. What about?
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, what about if you say like a stop sign in the octagon? Would that be formal?
Compared to what?
Compared to, as far as like the shape. Because one of my clients is, I ask him to name a shape, and he'll say a stop sign. So it's like it's octagon. So it's I used to give him that because it's octagon.
Right. That's formal similarity because it looks similar at exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Is everyone good on stimulus and stimulus class? Let's go back and compare it to response and response class just really quickly. I know probably some people are like, please go back to that because now I need to compare the 2. If I asked you one day, please tell me, how can I differentiate response and response class to stimulus and stimulus class? Would you be able to tell the difference?
Well, in response class, you're looking at more the action and the behavior. So that's the way you will be able to distinguish the difference between the stimulus and the response class. Because you're looking at action versus what are you looking at an object to compare similarities between one and the other.
Right. Right. So the response is like literally the response or the behavior that you're doing, right? That are similar. Whereas if you have the stimulus class, it's like what you're initially experiencing and what you're before you even react, really. How are these things similar? How do these things match up to what I'm used to seeing? What am I smelling? What am I feeling? What am I tasting? How is it similar to everything else? Before I even really respond, like a full like behavior that somebody can see, I'm getting something, like I'm getting an idea. I'm thinking first. I'm comparing things. So it's really not like, if you're trying to really like figure out a shortened way of differentiating them, just like think about how response is after the stimulus. The stimulus is first, and then it's the response. So like the stimulus is like you hear the music and then you decide to dance.
Yeah.
Right. And then the stimulus is going to be like, I don't want to over explain, but like,
well, isn't it like you go to a party and you see your best friend walk through the door, how are you going to react? You're going to react like you're happy. So you're going to run up to her and give her a hug. So wouldn't that be a simpler way to say it? Like you see someone you like and you like automatically
you react to it.
Hi,
yeah.
Or you just wave them down and say hi.
That's a good example.
Yeah, that is a good example. Sometimes I have trouble like thinking about it in the moment, but like, yeah. So that's good. I just don't want you to get on the test and like accidentally confuse like stimulus class and response class.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Can we look at the stimulus class as like an internal response almost, like because it's happening before nobody sees it? Can that be considered like internal?
Well, I mean,
thinking and how we're going to react.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's an experience.
Okay.
So you experience it first before you even respond, really.
Okay.
I mean, the definition is a stimulus is anything a person can experience through their senses. So
yeah, and so for me, I look at that as an internal response. Okay.
Yeah, and then you respond, which is that specific instance, and then whatever you respond by doing is it's your action, which you do.
Yeah.
And then based on what your action is, they can have similar outcomes, which is the response class.
So but can we compare that to a private event?
What do you mean?
Like, you know how you in a private event, only that certain individual would experience what's going on. Can we also compare that to a private event or no?
Well, I mean, we can't really see an energy change. I mean, we can't really see that. So that's like me saying, yeah, I can tell they're, well, I mean, you could.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's an experience, right?
Can we say that can happen individually? Like say you get up from bed and you didn't get a good night's sleep, it's going to actually affect the way you're going to react to others.
Right. I think it could be unnoticeable or noticeable. I mean, it really depends on the magnitude or, the obviousness of the stimulus. But technically, the way the definition is worded, it's like an experience through your senses. So we can't always see that, but sometimes it can be seen. Based on well, can you see someone hearing? Not really.
Not really, no.
But you see the
reaction
in hearing something.
Yeah.
and you see the response to them smelling something.
Smelling
You
something.
don't really see them smell
You
it.
don't
Like,
see
you
it,
can't
yeah.
see that. But I don't want to get too caught up on that. But anyways, are we good?
Yeah, so far I'm fine.
Yes.
Okay. B3, define and provide examples of respondent and operant conditioning. Woohoo, I love this one. Respondent conditioning, aka higher order conditioning, aka classical conditioning. I was confused about this on a mock one time. A little bit embarrassed, but that's okay. I got classical conditioning and respondent mixed up. I didn't think they were the same thing, but they are. So respondent conditioning is classical conditioning. It's also higher order conditioning. Those are three terms for the same thing. It's defined as a stimulus-stimulus pairing procedure in which a neutral stimulus is presented with an unconditioned stimulus until the neutral stimulus becomes a conditioned stimulus that elicits the conditioned response. Whew, that's a lot. But I put these in parentheses, like the process of respondent conditioning all the way until the conditioned response is developed. So when we're implementing respondent conditioning, our ultimate goal is the conditioned response, right? So if you can see here, my mouse, I'm starting at the unconditioned stimulus. And I'm working my way all the way to the end result, which is the conditioned response. That's the goal with respondent conditioning. We want a conditioned response to happen. So we start with the unconditioned stimulus.
And we end with the conditioned response.
Okay, I'm gonna go slow with this because it's hard. So we're pairing stimulus together for this. So the neutral stimulus is presented with an unconditioned stimulus. Okay. The neutral stimulus then becomes a conditioned stimulus. Now, let me stop right here. This right here, neutral stimulus, where is it? Right here. Neutral stimulus is presented with an unconditioned stimulus until the neutral stimulus becomes a conditioned stimulus. So you have an unconditioned stimulus, a stimulus that did not need training. You did not need training for this stimulus to be salient or have an effect on you. Okay?
Would that count as like the reflex?
Exactly. So a reflex, something that just is automatically, right? We're going to put a neutral stimulus with this reflex. Okay? The neutral stimulus now is no longer neutral. It's conditioned. Are you with me on that so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So
is it, can I ask a question? Is it conditioned because it's paired with a neutral stimulus?
It's, hold on. The neutral stimulus is now conditioned because it was paired with the unconditioned stimulus. So the unconditioned was already, like, we already were trained on that. We were already doing it. It was automatic. We didn't learn it. We already had it, right? The neutral stimulus was paired with it. It's now associated with the unconditioned stimulus. So now it's conditioned.
Okay.
We worked with the neutral stimulus to make it conditioned. Okay.
Okay.
So now that we have the first part down, now that we've taken the neutral stimulus and paired it with the unconditioned stimulus, now it's conditioned, which results in a conditioned response. Okay? That is the simplest way I know how to explain it.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and go to an example for this. Ivan Pavlov and his famous dog. Remember with the metronome and the food and the salivation? He conditioned these dogs to salivate at the sound of the metronome bell. The bell was a neutral stimulus before. You think the dogs heard a bell and said, "Oh, food," before he worked with them? No. He trained the dogs to salivate when they heard the bell because they thought they were going to get food. He paired the bell with the food, and then they said, okay, so food equals bell. So that means I'm going to salivate. That was the conditioned response. Do y'all understand that?
Yes.
Okay. I hope I'm being clear because this isn't really easy. So another example, little kids do not like getting an injection because it often results in pain, which is an unconditioned stimulus. Pain is unconditioned. We're going to feel it. We don't have to learn what pain is. We just know, right? We just feel it and it hurts. That's all we know. It's a reflex. Let me start over. Little kids do not like getting an injection because it often results in pain, which is an unconditioned stimulus, which induces fear, unconditioned response. Therefore, hearing words like needle, vaccine, or injections, they're now conditioned stimulus, alone can induce fear in young children. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The fact that they heard the words needle, vaccine, injection, that trained them to be scared because they know that that's associated with pain. That is an example of respondent conditioning.
I have like a real life example. Like I used to go to Children's Hospital in Philly with my kids. As soon as we went to the one specific elevator, my son would start screaming because he knew we were going for blood work. So he became conditioned like, I'm going for blood work because we're going to this elevator, so I'm going to start screaming now.
Right. Good example.
I don't mean to interrupt.
I have a question.
I'm getting confused right now. Okay, because this is the hardest for me too, like you said, Asia, it's very confusing. So unconditioned stimulus is what you already have learned, right? What you already experienced.
It's a reflex, yeah.
Okay. The conditioned stimulus is what we're gonna start experiencing, like feeling scared and unhappy. Is that right? Or am I confusing myself more?
Conditioned stimulus is like,
am I learning that skill or am I not learning it?
You've learned it from
conditioned. Okay.
Yeah, the conditioned is like learned. Conditioned means learned. Maybe I should.
So I already have the experience.
Yes, you've learned based on these association that this is a stimulus. This is kind of like a warning. Like before it even happens, you heard the word needle and now you're automatically scared.
Okay. So
that's
where
conditioned
does
response.
Okay. Unconditioned response. Or
that is a conditioned response. When you've heard the word needle, vaccine, injection, and you know for a fact that anytime you hear that word, you've remembered pain, that is a conditioned stimulus. That is, now you have a conditioned response to that conditioned stimulus, which is...
Oh my God, I'm getting confused. That's why I'm getting confused.
Aisha, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Why is the pain an unconditioned stimulus instead of unconditioned response? Because I thought that the injection is what caused the pain, so it should be a response to the injection that you receive.
Can I
So it's really
I just want to see if I
there.
know it. Is that okay if I answer, Asia?
Yeah, go ahead,
please,
Victoria.
Please go ahead, please.
So for your question, Pamela,
yes,
the reason that pain would not be conditioned is because anything that's conditioned is learned. So we didn't have to learn to feel pain.
Okay, so why is the pain not why is it not an unconditioned response?
Because it protects us from dying. So that's a survival instinct. Is whenever something pain is like it's how we've survived this long. So if we didn't learn about what hurts, we would just kill ourselves all the time, like without even really knowing like what could result in us being hurt.
Okay,
it's really for survival of species. So it's unlearned. It's phylogeny. compared to if you compare phylogeny and ontogeny.
Ontogeny,
Phylogeny, we don't need to learn these things. We don't have time to learn all these things that we otherwise need to survive. Otherwise our human race would just die off so quick.
Okay.
So we're born knowing, and we're born with instincts and all these behaviors that we don't need to learn or experience to know that, it's there.
And pain is a part of the 9 unconditional reinforcement. Am I saying it right? Unconditional reinforcement, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, unconditioned reinforcers or reflexes, they call it.
Okay.
Okay.
Which is like hunger, thirst, sexual sensation, pain. Yeah. So anything that it revolves around your senses, and feeling is considered a sense as well.
Oh, that makes sense now.
Yeah. So if you can see it, feel it, touch it, taste it, smell it, those are all your senses. So that's why those are considered unconditioned, because it wasn't taught to us.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for jumping in there too. Everyone else. I can't see names, but thank you. Whoever was talking.
Oh yeah, it was everyone, but I just learned that from from learning with my own son, just different things that that are not taught that they automatically know. So pain is something, but as far as learning where pain comes from is taught. So if you touch a hot stove, that is now taught to you not to touch it again.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's conditioned then.
Yeah, but the initial pain itself wasn't taught to him. It's just where it came from. So the stove was hot, so now he's not going to touch it again because that delivers that pain that he knows about already.
That he knows is bad.
Yeah.